Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Tim. Tim here. I'll talk if you'll listen. Episode 1, the very first episode. And I think we're going to start off with a bang here. First and foremost, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I can't wait to hear from you guys next week. I'll be at the end of the episode letting you know how to get in touch with me. And hopefully, I can read off some of you guys' comments on and opinions about today's topic. So I think this is a pretty good topic today, and it's something that I experience a lot in my line of work, actually. And I think that a lot of you, especially if you went to public school, have experienced in quite a while. So there's this really super famous person called Tiffany Haddish, and unless you've been living under a rock for the past 2 years, you know who she is. She is a comedian. She starred in a bunch of movies. Most recently, the movie from last year, 2017's Girls Trip. Let's see what else she was in. She was on the Carmichael Show. She starred in Keanu. She was on If Loving You Was Wrong. Um, she was in a bunch of different things. She has some comedy specials, and most recently, she hosted the Oscars. And this is what everyone is up in arms about. She hosted the Oscars, and of course, as you know, there are tons of different actors from all over the world. A lot of the stuff that we watch, believe it or not, a lot of the people who star in a lot of these movies aren't even from the States, so they're from, overseas, different countries, and they have different names, and you pronounce names certain ways. And Tiffany Haddish is taking a lot of flack because she mispronounced one of the Oscar nominees' names for Best Actor. It's an actor by the name of Daniel Kaluuya. Kaluuya. He starred in 2017's Get Out. It was a really huge, successful movie. It's pretty funny. Produced by Jordan Peele from Key and Peele. Really good movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest it. Although I wasn't really as crazy about it as a lot of people were. I think on a scale of 1 to 10, a lot of people give it a 10 or a 9. I'd give it like an 8, 8.5. Again, definitely a movie I would buy. Definitely a movie I would watch again. I wouldn't pay again to go and see it in the movie theaters, but again, really good movie. You should definitely watch it, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So anyway, Tiffany Haddish mispronounces. It's all over social media. You can go on Twitter. You can go on YouTube. You can even if you like type Tiffany Haddish's name into like Google or Bing, she'll pop up, and it'll be like the first thing. So again, a lot of people up in arms about it. Again, it can kind of get played off a bit because she's a comedian. So it does get played off a bit because it comes off as funny. Other people are up in arms about it. Other people are like, this she should have been more. She should have did her homework. She should have been more attentive, more aware. She's hosting the Oscars. This is a really big thing. Let's see what some of the people are saying on Twitter right here. This is real time, guys. So although it won't be live when you're listening to it, this is real time. So this is trending on Twitter. So Josh K. Elliott, who I'm guessing is famous because he has a little blue check next to his name. Here's Tiffany Haddish butchering Daniel Kaluuya's name. You know it. He know his name. Let's see here. Philip Lewis. Tiffany Haddish is struggling. A lot of G's in struggling, by the way. To emphasize that she's struggling. I'm struggling reading this with so many G's. Tiffany Haddish is struggling with these names. Hashtag Oscar noms. Justin Makita. Guys, our girl Tiffany Haddish is slaughtering everyone's name on this announcement. Well, Justin Makita, you didn't slaughter the word slaughtering, so I appreciate that. Waylon Wong. Let's see here. Daniel. So she's making fun. So Tiffany Haddish kind of said Daniel Hallelujah, like as a play on words for hallelujah. Daniel Hallelujah. I am very into Tiffany Haddish's pun save on Daniel Kaluuya's name, and anyone knows me knows I appreciate a good pun. So as you can see, a lot of people, at least for the first few, tweets, think it's funny, and I think she can get away with it because she's she's a comedian and she's funny and she's a very energetic person. And everyone who knows her, who met her, even talk show hosts, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Ellen, they just love her. She's just a ball of energy. And I don't know anyone right now. I haven't seen anyone right now who doesn't like her. Um, so it, there are a lot of people. I'm trying to find one now, guys. I'm sorry. Let's see. I was trying to find like a negative tweet, but there are some people out there who says no. She should have did her homework. She should have been more prepared. She's hosting an Oscars. It's a huge deal, and some people were actually going to bat for Daniel Kaluuya, who, mind you, didn't care, and actually said, she can mispronounce. I guess he was kind of like flirting with her. She can mispronounce his name any way she wants to. But there are a lot of people going to bat for him, saying, he had his name mispronounced his whole life. He's a big guy. He's, starting a huge movie, and you know, it should be people should put an effort in pronouncing his name. Me personally, I don't see the big deal. I mean, granted, my name is Tim. Growing up, teachers called me Timothy, and last name is pretty simple too. No one I never had anyone mispronounce my name before, and I don't think I'll ever have to worry about that ever. Um, but it got me thinking, and especially in my line of work, I get people different ethnic backgrounds from all over the world, all over the country, who have very either their name is unique or they spell their name unique. I always spell out people's names. It could be something as simple as Tiffany or Catherine or Haley, and it's spelled like you wouldn't believe. I'm sure you all have been in a situation where you just assumed someone spells their name, oh, Tiffany, Tiffany, or maybe there's one F. And maybe you've come across the Tiffany who has an I at the end instead of a Y. But I've seen all types. I've seen the NEE at the end of Tiffany. I've seen the TIFFANEE. I've seen two N's and two E's at the end. I've seen PH. I've seen TIPHANI. No joke. I'm sure if you type that in, someone will pop up. But the point being is people spell their names differently, and people decide to get creative in an emergency room or in a delivery room rather after they have a child. And by all means, whatever. It is what it is. It That's your name, regardless of the reason. I wonder, have you guys, if you have a unique name out there, and I'm saying this regardless of race. I know a lot of people are probably say, oh, this is mainly, directed towards black people or, people from other countries. No, this is everybody. People of all races and different colors have different spellings of common names. This is a question for you guys, and hopefully I'll hear some good answers. Have you ever asked your parents, your mom or your dad, in some cases just your mom, just your dad, what your name means or what the reasoning behind you being named what you were named is? My name is Tim. It's a biblical name, it's a Christian name. Not much research I had to do there. But I mean, if sometimes it's like, okay, you're named after a country or you're named after a thing. Your name is Precious. Your name is Uganda. I have a cousin named Unique. Um, let's see here, Imani. Things like that. They have meanings, especially if they're like, you know, uh, Israeli names, you know, uh, African names. They have origin there. They mean something. It might mean name like Messiah, for example. Things like that. Might have a Hispanic name mean something. Some things are just cooler in different languages. But other people have really unique names to say the least, and that kind of like gets me wondering, like if you know your name is unique, if you know your name is hard to pronounce, and you know the person that you're speaking with didn't grow up with you, have they don't know who you are, so they're going to mispronounce your name. So I'm speaking directly to everybody who's ever had their name mispronounced. Help me out here. Please help me out. What's your attitude for? I know you're going to feel attacked by the end of this episode, but hear me out. Hear me out. What is your attitude for? Why do you take issue? I just really, really would like to know. And I mean that genuinely, like what's bugging you? What really, I mean, you got to be aware of your name, right? If your name is, I don't know, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. Maybe I should go to, here, let's check this out. Let's go online. Let's type in something. Let's see, most mispronounced names. Here we go. 20 popular baby names that are commonly mispronounced. I had it classified as baby names. What is a baby name? It's a name. Let's see here. These are actually pretty. Oh, here's a good one. Okay. So, and I actually know, so I went to school with someone named Siobhan. So I knew a young lady named Siobhan, but she spelled it as Sibhan. And it's pronounced, some people pronounce it with the B sound, so it's pronounces Siobhan. But the young lady I know pronounced it as Siobhan, like with the V sound. And I've seen Siobhan spelled different ways. I've seen Shavonne. I've seen it this way, like I mentioned, Siobhan. And you got to know, I mean, if you just look at your name, the English language is so hard and so confusing, and in some cases contradictory. I mean, look at the word sugar. Where's the H sound coming from? Look at the word shore. Where's the H sound coming from? But if you look at summer, it's pronounced summer, not shummer. So it can be really hard for people, especially if English isn't their first language. It can be really hard for people to look at your name and just, oh, I know what it is. And I see a lot of, and this one I will be specific for race. I see a lot of black people, especially in particular, black women, who catch an attitude with their name being mispronounced. They are just automatically come 0 to 100. 0 to 100. They're just like immediately upset. And on one hand you get it, right? On one hand you get it. On one hand it's like, well, look, it's their name. They deserve to have it pronounced correctly. But I mean, take a name like, like my name, Tim or Chris or James or Steve or Kevin, right? You take a look at these names, and these names have been around forever. These names have been around since, we could read. So it's easy to assume how these names are pronounced. In some cases you might get that one off where you say, oh, hey, Kevin. He's like, oh, no, it's pronounced Kevin. And oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. My bad. Didn't know. 98% of the people on this planet pronounce it as Kevin, so I'm sorry. But the same thing, like, how do you respond to that? Do you say, oh, it's actually pronounced Kevin? Or even take Siobhan, for example. You say, oh, is it Siobhan? Siobhan? Remember it's spelled Siobhan. So you're looking at it like, oh, it's Siobhan? It's pronounced Siobhan? And you're like, no, it's actually pronounced Siobhan. How aware are you? How polite are you? How forthcoming are you when it comes to pronouncing the name correctly? So, I mean, like, no one knows your name, right? No one knows your name. No one knows what it is. You gotta assume that the person is going to mispronounce it. That's my thought, And I know a lot of people out there, oh, it's easy for you to say your name's Tim. You'll never have your name mispronounced. Yeah, that might be true. But I mean, let's be reasonable here. Odds are, if you have a unique name, odds are it's going to get mispronounced. Just assume from the gate it's going to be mispronounced. If you assume it's going to be mispronounced, I think you'll never be disappointed. In fact, you'll be surprised. I mean, go and watch some of these Oscar shows, right? Go and watch some of these Oscar shows where, when the host, especially on the red carpet, they pronounce the name correctly. You'll see the actress or actor go, "Oh, okay, that was actually correct. Thank you." And put yourself in their shoes. I'm sure you've mispronounced something. If you've mispronounced a word, any word, whether it be in the English dictionary or otherwise, whether it be slang, whether it be another language, another word in another language, if you've mispronounced anything, here's a big culprit: the word specific and the word Pacific. I can't tell you, people constantly say, "Oh, the Pacific Ocean." Well, which ocean? You're talking about a specific ocean. Which ocean? No, the Pacific Ocean. You got the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific. Oh, you mean Pacific Ocean. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, if you've mispronounced anything ever, you should be more understanding. You should understand, okay, someone's going to mispronounce your name. And I'm not attacking you. And I'm not attacking anybody who has, a particularly difficult name. All I'm saying is you shouldn't immediately snap. I think that the most polite way to ask somebody is, "Hey, how should I pronounce your name?" "Hey, how should I pronounce your name?" Or give a little disclaimer, like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce your name. How should I pronounce your name?" And I think anybody who is understanding and a nice, calm person will go, "Oh, okay, I get that. I know my name is difficult to pronounce. Oh, it's pronounced Siobhan. I know it's spelled kind of weird, or I know it's spelled differently, but it's pronounced Siobhan." You know, you'll see a lot of, people get really, really upset just from just calm down, relax, relax. I don't know your name. What's your guys' thought? What's your input? What type of response have you've gotten if when you've mispronounced someone's name? What type of response do you give people if you know your name is hard to mispronounce? Um, what type of how do you react when someone tries to pronounce your name? And is there a nice way? I think, hey, I don't want to mispronounce your name. How do I pronounce your name? Is there a nice way? I think that, that's a nice way. It's something to like, that's a good way to present it. Let's see here. What exactly pisses you off about it? For those people who go from 0 to 100 like immediately, what pisses you off about when people mispronounce your name? Help me understand that. I would love to hear from some of you guys. Please reach out. I would love to know what pisses you off exactly about someone mispronouncing your name, especially someone who's never. Obviously, the biggest person is the substitute teacher, right? That's like the biggest culprit. They're in the class. They're full of kids, and these kids are younger. Either they don't know how to be, or they weren't taught how to be polite and courteous and going, "Oh, my name is actually pronounced this way." They immediately get the sassy attitude, roll their eyes, suck their teeth. It's pronounced Siobhan. Um, that that is like a common thing, especially in public schools. Um, so everyone who has a unique name or had their name mispronounced growing up, what exactly pisses you off? What exactly ticks you off about it? Why did you go from 0 to 100 real quick? The most common answer that I've gotten whenever I brought this up is, um, well, you should just, I'm tired I've been growing up with my name constantly mispronounced, and I'm tired. I'm sick of it. Yeah, okay, I get that. That's your right. It's your right to be pissed off. It's your right to be upset. But you got to consider something. You're the one constant factor. Your name has been constantly mispronounced your whole life, and you've been hearing it your whole life. But the person who mispronounced your name, for the most part, has only ever mispronounced it once. They don't know you. It's their first time mispronouncing your name. So, you got to realize that. But here's a really good one. And I really would love you guys' feedback. Please do reach out. Knowing what you went through growing up, if your name is pretty difficult to pronounce and if you had a lot of history of people mispronouncing your name, knowing what you went through growing up, if and when you have a child, would you name them? What would you give them? Would you give them a traditional? What would you name them? Would you give them a traditional name? Chris, James, Tim. Or would you give a unique name? I think a lot of people name their child based off the way the name sounds. Oh, I like this. Well, it's not about you. It's about your child. It's not about how cool the name sounds. Your child has to live with that name potentially for the rest of their lives. Uh, just more to it than a name just sounding cool. Your child's future employer, teacher, professor, business partners, audience, producer, whatever whatever, patients, customers, has to pronounce their name, and I don't think that gets considered when people get named. Again, I think a lot of parents just go, oh, this name sounds cool, name them this. Well, it's not like a dog or a cat, it's not like a car, this is a human being. I think you got to consider a few things, but again, it's knowing what you went through, knowing what you went through growing up, knowing how annoyed and frustrated and angry you felt when people mispronounced your name constantly over and over again. Would you want to put your child through that? Would you even consider that when you're naming your child? So I would love to hear you guys' feedback on that. And finally, guys, what do you think about Tiffany Haddish? Do you think she should have been more prepared? Do you think she should have went in with all her T's crossed and her I's dotted? She should have known how to pronounce Daniel Kaluuya's name. She should have, especially if she knew that was like on the card and that was like a difficult name. Should she have practiced? Should she have prepared? Is she okay for making a joke out of it? What do you guys think? I personally don't see an issue with it, but I'm a part of the reason for me even bringing this up is I want to hear you guys' opinion on it. I would love to hear. Maybe you guys change my mind. Maybe someone who's had their name constantly mispronounced will change my mind and help me see a different perspective, see a different side of things. So you guys can reach out to I'll Talk If You'll Listen at hotmail.com. Again, I'll Talk If You'll Listen, the same name as the podcast. Just add at hotmail.com at the end of it. In the subject line, just put today's episode and leave me whatever feedback you want about this, whether it be about the show, whether it be about today's topic, whatever you want, and I'll actually read it on the next episode. I'll read it out loud. If it's super long, I'm going to have to paraphrase. But aside from that, I'll read it out loud. I'll go over some talking points, and in the email, just let me know if you want your name announced or not. Whether you want your email address announced or, if you want, just your first name announced. So, just if you just want to be anonymous, that's fine too. So feel free to reach out, guys. I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to respond. Thanks for tuning in to my very first episode. Let me know on how you thought it went. Please let me know if there's anything that you would like to talk about or anything that you have an opinion on that you want me to go over. Until the next time, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you all next week.